Yo, 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 what's going on, guys? Rhys here from Stoic Pool. And in this video, we're talking about a catalyst proposal called DAO smart contracts. Is that right? Have I got that? I've just butchered it right at the start. I'm so sorry, guys. But I've got Logan and Justin here who are co-founding this project together. And we're basically just going to sit around and chat about what they're up to, because right at the minute, all I think about is DAOs, governance, tokens, and so we're just going to let everyone else talk today. That's all right. So Logan, we'll start with you, mate, because you're at the top for where I am. So just guys, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the proposal and kind of what you guys are aiming to build.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on, Rhys. It's a pleasure. So my name's Logan. Nice to meet everybody in this community. So I'm co-founder of this proposal, and what we're building is templated smart contracts. So what we do is we turn complicated Plutus code into simple online forms, so anyone has the ability to interact with these Plutus smart contracts. It's important to us that that we build these smart contracts that have these versatile use cases that are going to be needed as the community grows on Cardano. And I'll toss it off to you, Justin. You can introduce.
Yeah, I'm Justin. I'm Logan's co-founder. I studied computer science and was fortunate enough to be part of the first kind of Plutus Pioneers program. So that's kind of how I got involved in the Cardano ecosystem. And yeah, just been getting plugged in since then, and happy to be able to be making some tools that'll be helping people that are coming to Cardano over the next couple months and years.
So awesome. Absolutely awesome, right? Because I'm working on a DAO proposal and like a DAO that me and a couple of guys have been working on. And man, DAOs are complicated. Like they're super complicated. Like why bother, right? Just make it a company. Don't even bother with it. But digesting what the PAB can do. Like people don't know. I don't know the full extent of what the PAB can do. The main guy doing the Plutus development on the thing, he's discovering new stuff every day. Wherever we've asked questions in IOG's Discord to the Plutus guys, like they don't know. They're learning. They're discovering. So yeah, I think this is like a super important tool that we definitely need. So thank you, guys. So tell me a little bit about what these templates are going to be working for.
Yeah, I mean, so really the beta product that we're coming out with, it's really just a simple escrow contract. So really what we want this to be is a proof of concept that, you can templatize Plutus smart contracts. You can turn code into simple online forms. So you don't have to have the technical knowledge to deploy a smart contract on the Cardano blockchain. So essentially, we're looking into and we're talking to the community about, what smart contracts are going to be needed to govern DAOs. Obviously, there's going to be voting involved. There's going to be verification of ownership of whether it's an NFT or a token. A DAO might want a stipulation where, you have to hold a certain amount of this token to be able to have access to vote on these proposals. There's a ton of different things to think about, and there's a ton of different smart contracts that can be useful for DAOs to execute their proposals, submit proposals, provide correct governance. And yeah, we're excited to just keep talking to the community and keep building on smart contracts that will be useful to the people trying to build DAOs on Cardano.
Yeah, awesome. So the main part of the Catalyst proposal is for basically building this proof of concept escrow contract that anyone can just fill out a form and basically plug and play. Kind of almost like what IOG talk about when they talk about having a Marlowe app for like P2P smart contracts.
Yeah, it's very similar to Marlowe. I think we both have similar end goals to make this technology be able to be used by everyone. So for the proposal, what we're raising money for, we already have this proof of concept. We have this smart contract built out. We have the interface that goes with it. We're waiting for a few more PAB updates so that we can launch this product and people can start using and getting their feet wet with it. Really, it's important to us that we have the funds to make sure these smart contracts that we're providing to the community are correctly audited, and they're high assurance smart contracts, because that's what we want to do. We want to democratize the ability to access high assurance smart contracts so that everyone can rest assured that the smart contracts they use will behave exactly how they want them to.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess if you can just audit the templates and prove that the templates are good, then anyone can adjust individual parameters on it, and you're basically good to go. Like you're more or less secure with that. So it becomes a trusted place to go to build contracts as well.
Right. And that's what we've noticed is a lot of, individual projects on Cardano that are building kind of this overlapping technology, basic DAO infrastructure, for example, for them to pay the money all individually to, get their individual projects audited. It's just a cost to the Cardano ecosystem as a whole. Whereas if we can just get this kind of one templated audited this one time and kind of have people use that as, a foundation level, that clears up a lot of, burden on the Cardano ecosystem to pay for these consistent audits.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. That's one thing that we're facing now, like building out our thing, is like there are so many moving parts to a DAO to begin with. There's like a lot to get audited. It becomes very expensive very quick. And if we can just plug something in and just know it works, then it just makes it so much easier. So it'll kind of end up, because like these kind of things, like templated DAOs, like plug and play form DAO kind of things, exist already on ETH and Ethereum and stuff like that, don't they? There's like I can't remember any of the names, but there's like 3 or 4 different projects that you that's like a web app that builds a DAO for you, essentially, isn't it? Like you get
Aragon is one of them.
Development kind of websites and stuff like that as well, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see solutions on other blockchains, like Aragon is one we look at a lot.
There's one.
Yeah, they have an interesting way that they do dispute resolution and incentivizing kind of decentralized arbitration. I think dispute
resolution can just be like a game of rock, paper, scissors, and you're done, really, can't it? You're all right.
Yeah, as long as it's transparent and on the blockchain, I think that's a
best
good
of
solution.
3. We're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. So, I mean, this is like, we had NFTs and we had things like that, tokens, random stuff kind of coming out last year. And I think now that the PAB's going to be emerging itself on mainnet, I think DAOs are next. And I think that this, if you can get funded, which I hope you do, like you have my support at least, because like I already need it, to be honest, guys. So please help me out. But yeah, I think if you can get funded, then you're going to be filling a really big need on Cardano before it properly emerges, so you can kind of get ahead of it like that. I think that's fantastic. And I wish you all the best for that. It's going to be amazing.
We appreciate it. It's definitely, we're very excited about what we're building. And we think it's, the reason we're building it is because it will bring the most good to the community. And we think that, building out these tools, making sure they're built right, making sure they're audited, making sure these smart contracts are things that a lot of people will use and benefit from. That's what we're going for. We're trying to build a project and build a smart contract library that really benefits the community and helps it grow to a scalable level. And people can just keep building and having fun and creating these new applications and creating these DAOs easily, because that's kind of our vision of the future, is that these smart contracts will be the backbone of how society operates as we move forward in time. And it's just a more transparent and equitable way to communicate and run an organization. And we want to facilitate the creation of these types of projects.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's next. I think that's what comes next. We've had games, we've had DeFi, basic DeFi, like DeFi's coming. DeFi will be done by June. Everything will be out. No, I think the next kind of 2 years is all DAO, where people start to realize that we need to build infrastructure for blockchain. It's not just the technology. The technology is just there, it's the thing, cool. But like, how do we actually use it, and how do we start creating the right infrastructure to be able to deploy other things, and to be able to deploy like the solutions that everyone conceptually understands? Is like, blockchain could be like doing this, it could be doing that, but right now we're just missing a lot of those things. I think I think it's fantastic. I can't wait to see this. Like, I didn't realize, all right guys, I'm going to be completely honest, because you guys didn't tell me what your proposal was when we kind of organized this call. And like literally for you guys listening, right? An hour before, I was like, oh yeah, could you actually send me the link to the proposal? And I was like, oh my God, this is who I'm talking to. So that's like got me so excited. I can't even think of what to say. I'm just happy to be on a call with you guys right now, to be honest. What do you think about governance? Like, what are your opinions on governance of a DAO? Like, how do you think that should work?
What a question.
I know, sorry, mate. I just need help with mine. I need help with my white paper.
I think it's up to, you know, the person creating the DAO. I think there's so many different ways that you can think about governance within a decentralized organization. I think oftentimes the way I think about it the most is that, you know, let's say there's a token that operates as the governing kind of asset of the DAO. And the more you hold it, the more voting power you have. Or maybe you want to have an NFT collection where if you own the NFT, that gives you access and everyone has the same kind of voting power. There's so many different ways you can think about governance, but it really comes down to, you know, how you need to make sure that it's transparent. How does the governance work? How are you counting the votes? Where do you go to vote? Making that process easy is something we think about a lot because, you know, you don't want to have to log into your terminal to communicate with the Cardano CLI. You want to be able to log onto a website and click a button and say, hey, this is a cool proposal. I'm going to vote yes. Or, hey, I'm not really down for this proposal. I'm going to vote no. And there's so many different ways you can go about governance, but I guess that's kind of a short-winded answer of, you know, thoughts I have about governance.
Yeah. So do you think that everyone having the same voting power, or do you think the number of tokens is a better way to manage it? Do you think it's better for people who have more skin in the game, who own more tokens, to have more voting power? And I know this is like a very specific question, but I'm just interested in what you guys think about this, because it's something that I've been trying to tackle. Like, how do I best approach governance for my DAO? You know, so it's just interesting to talk about it with other people.
I think it definitely depends on, you know, what the priorities of your DAO are. You know, if your DAO is, you know, mainly created to create this big community, you know, where, for instance, we're talking to sports organizations, for example. If we're talking to somebody like that, you know, the point of having a DAO and having kind of an NFT is to have this big community. So in that case, you know, I would think that everybody should have equal voting rights, just to kind of encourage, you know, equal ownership, you know, where we all own this. You know, it's all about growing the community, getting as many people involved as possible. But definitely, you know, on the other hand of that, there's definitely DAOs, I think, where having, you know, more skin in the game means you should have more voting power. So really, I think that it is a DAO by DAO basis kind of, and really evaluating, you know, what is the purpose of this DAO? Is it to, you know, bring community to something? Is it to bring financial gain to its members? And, you know, looking at all of those, I think, is something that you need to consider.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what Justin is saying, you know, sometimes, you know, it's great to have that everyone has the same voting power, but other times there are certain people that have, normally the people that have more skin in the game know a lot more about what should happen and what ought to happen because they're involved in the decision-making process and the conversations that are actually happening to dictate, you know, what direction this DAO should take. So, I mean, it's totally
a bit of a duality, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
I get exactly what you're saying. Like for mine personally, because like we're thinking of just running it as tokens rather than NFTs, like ownership token. So for that, we're going to be rewarding people with tokens every epoch as part of the reward, because it's a staking DAO. It's a staking mechanism that we're basically trying to build. So for us, it makes more sense to provide people with rewards consistently to basically take more ownership of the project the longer that they're involved. So that's why we've gone with that choice. But I can see the NFT working so well, you know, and that's something that we'd considered just having everything the same. And if you own tokens, you have a vote, like one unit. But I think, like you say, having with something that requires more technical input from the community, the people who are more invested will have more understanding of the processes, and they'll want to be more involved. Like I find that all the time with like Catalyst, for example. I know a couple of whales. I've spoken to some guys who have just an insane amount of Cardano, and they're heavily involved in things behind the scenes, and you just don't know about it because they're these elusive, like they're like elusive beings, you know, for like us normal ADA holders. and they're like, no, I need to. Oh, Rhys, I'm removing my stake so that I can vote on Catalyst. I just need to register it as one wallet, if that's all right. I'm like, yeah, cool. Thanks for letting me know. You know, like appreciate. But yeah, I really find that people who in that instance who have more tokens generally take it a lot more seriously. With regards to voting power for something that's very technical, I think that the tokenization works better for that reason.
Definitely.
Yeah. There's no right answer, right? I mean, there's no correct way to run a company. There's no correct way to do DAO governance. It's up to the community, really. How does the community want the DAO to run? And it's up to them. And you know, I am excited for kind of just the overarching concept of making organizations go from centralized to decentralized and seeing the positive impact it has on just the operations of kind of how it works to do business. And, you know, it's a very exciting prospect. This concept of DAOs is kind of popping up all over the place. You see all these DAOs raising all sorts of money for different things. And, you know, I think the practical use case of them are around the corner, and it'll come to fruition soon.
Yeah, 100%. So what do you guys think about treasury management then? I know that's a very open-ended question, but like, because the thing about the DAO is the idea is that it's kind of everyone owns it. So like, then it becomes very difficult to figure out the best way to approach managing a treasury, because the DAO needs to pay for itself. It needs to pay people to do work on it. So like, I'm just assuming that you guys think about this quite regularly, like me, you know, I'm just sit in my cave thinking about numbers and shit.
So yeah, that's really the benefit of building kind of this smart contract library for kind of a standardized way of forming a DAO. So, you know, if we're creating all these DAOs in kind of the same way, that means that, you know, if we templatize smart contracts that can interact with these treasuries, since their treasuries will be built the same way, it means that all of this can kind of plug and play with each other. So, you know, really what that means is as we kind of see DAOs, you know, using certain kinds of contracts more frequently, you know, say it's just paying, you know, developers that are building out stuff for the DAO. You know, this is a type of contract that we're going to see a lot of. So it would make a lot of sense to be able to kind of templatize that and automate that. And really just kind of going where the DAOs themselves kind of hold the ecosystem and say, you know, these are the contracts that we're using the most, that, you know, if these were automated and audited for all of us, it would be really beneficial.
Yeah. And I think treasury management is a beast of a topic. And that's a good thing. It
doesn't need to be a straight answer. We can talk about it. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's certain things where, you know, you need to have the community understand when money is leaving the treasury, when money goes into the treasury, when do rewards get released from the treasury to the community. And it needs to be, you know, a clear set of contracts that govern those processes. And that's why we're so excited about what we're building out, is because, you know, like Justin said, we want this to be a plug and play system where you have this contract library where you can say, oh, I like how that one would make my DAO work. We'll plug that one and connect it to our treasury so that every time, you know, we make 1,000 ADA, it gets evenly distributed to our token stakers, you know, whatever it may be. You know, treasury management is something that there's going to be innovations that come to it too. There's ideas we haven't even thought of how to manage a treasury and how you can incentivize people to hold, you know, your DAO token or NFT or whatever it may be. And it's exciting.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I find one thing that I've been thinking about with managing the treasury is something that I learned from looking at some other protocols on Ethereum is holding different tokens and stable coins and different like a different amounts of certain assets so that you can kind of hedge against the markets essentially, because like if we're collecting a fee in ADA, then we're getting paid, the DAO's getting paid in ADA. but ADA doesn't survive very well. It doesn't, like, the value of ADA fluctuates. It changes all the time. Like if you consider September to now, we're just 50% of the value, which has obviously a massive impact on what the DAO can do for itself. So we've been thinking about how we can hold different ratios of some stable coins, some DeFi assets, so the DAO can take part in other aspects of the ecosystem to provide liquidity with its treasury, and maybe it can earn yield in certain ways, or it can just trade certain assets so that it can basically build its own treasury outside of what the process of the DAO does, and then the problem with that is that creates a whole other host of questions, like how on earth do you manage that? Like, who gets to decide? And one thing we think. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just kind of riffing off what you're saying. It kind of makes me think of a DAO treasury as kind of a decentralized hedge fund, where the community.
That's exactly what it's going to become, and that's what I'm seeing. Like, I had a very draft, like a 3,000 word draft of a white paper that I distributed when I did some videos. But then between Christmas and New Year's, I basically turned that into 8,000 words, because I was like, some of this stuff's changed. I need to define governance better. I need to define the treasury and how that's managed better. And I've just kind of, it all came out, little verbal diarrhea. But yeah, there's, the more that you start to the more I found I was writing about it and kind of making decisions, the more decisions had to be made. And it's fun kind of thinking about all these things and kind of taking on all these decisions and being like, right, how is this going to be fair? And like, how can we prevent certain things from it being exploited, or how can we make sure things survive certain kinds of market fluctuations and stuff like that? The treasury is a really big one, and the management of that then becomes a whole other ball game, because who makes those decisions? Like, do we have some form of like trading bot in play, or how are we going to build that? Like how are we going to trust that to make good decisions? And another thing other ecosystems include is like committees. So that's kind of where we've gone, where as we roll out DAO ownership from the founding team to the community, we're going to bring on committee members, which will vote in every like 6 months or 3 or 6 months or something, and it'll be them who's in charge of everything. And that in itself is kind of scary, to be honest with you, because I'm thinking like, I got to hand my baby over. I was up at 2 a.m. thinking about you, and now I'm going to give you off to 6 other guys. It's a bit scary.
Yeah.
But I think committees are a good way to go from the research that I've done. And yeah, it's, oh my God, DAOs are complicated, man. DAOs are complicated, but I love it. I just love it. I found this whole new passion in like building everything, it's crazy. It's crazy. So what else? What have I missed that's important to think about with DAOs? Like, what other kind of contracts are you thinking you need to build to templatize these kind of things? Yeah,
there's so many contracts we've talked about and kind of made a flow chart for, and talked about, this could be useful for this use case. This could be useful for this use case. One we're really thinking about, and we've gotten positive feedback from the community, is kind of a split royalty contract. So what this contract would do is it would monitor a wallet address, and depending on what you put into the form, you would say, when money hits this account, 50% go to this wallet address, 5% go to this wallet address, 6% go to this wallet address, all the way up until you get to 100. And then once the money, it automatically redistributes the funds. So you could imagine this would be useful in treasury management, or it could be useful when an artist makes an NFT.
Yeah, royalties is the obvious one, isn't it? And that's a big need right now. Like a lot of people are kind of tackling this in the NFT space as we speak. Yeah,
and we talk about, maybe we can add a feature to this escrow contract we have built out where it has, connectivity to data that's on chain. And instead of having to confirm these transactions when the money's in the escrow with a vote, it gets confirmed with the data that runs through the contract. Whether it's making a bet on whether it's going to rain today with your buddy, or making a bet on the DAO makes a bet that the Seahawks will win the Super Bowl, or whatever it may be. there's so many different contracts that we've thought about, and it's up to the community to kind of, we would love to be nudged in the right direction. Tell us, what you're struggling with, what contract would be most helpful for you guys, because, we have the resources to kind of go out and figure out how to build these contracts and make sure they're in a plug and play system where everyone can benefit from them. So
poor Justin's got a lot of work to do, man. Sorry, man. Sorry about that, dude. I just see him like sitting there like this, like, what? Logan, stop talking. I've got enough work.
No, we love hearing from the community what they're building and what's most beneficial, because that's really why we're here, and we really do have a very strong team of developers behind us that are able to do some pretty cool things on Cardano.
I find some of the stuff the Pab can do is pretty sexy. Like one of the things that we've got for the DAO, which is just what the guy who I'm in contact with, the Plutus dev who's on our team, he was like, we needed to be able to direct stake, like move stake around for someone. And so we initially, when I was imagining it, I was like, how are we going to ping people to get people to sign a transaction every 5 days? That pissed me off. I'm sure it's going to piss other people off. I'd just ignore it after a while. I'd be like, oh, shut up, Rhys. I don't need you telling me what to do. I'd be like my mum or my girlfriend now telling me to do the dishes or something. And so he was like, oh yeah, I figured it out. Like we can tokenize it. We can tokenize permission. And that just blew my mind, because that solves like a huge problem for us, but like most people think of NFTs, they think of art, ticketing solution, something else I've been working on. And another thing is like a kind of obvious thing, or like contractual agreements or something outside of smart contracts, but just like the document itself, or like leases or something like that, But then to think about an NFT as a permission token, or like is I don't know, that I just never thought of it like that. It was mind blowing. Yeah. And I think the Pab has some awesome functionality, and I've read it. I've read through a lot of the stuff, and a lot of it seems kind of similar, and you look at it, and then I've spoken to this guy and he's like, oh yeah, that's used for this like specific thing. And that one's used for this specific thing. Like you don't use that one for that one. You don't use that one for that one. And I was like, oh my God, I need to go back to this and try and reread it. But yeah, I think it's going to be just a game changer once it's out live and people start testing things and kind of poking holes. Because at the minute we're working on the test net, so we're learning stuff and we're trying stuff and breaking things, but it's basically we're just sit in a circle every week and we go, ooh, what could we do with this, and right. Yeah, I feel like when you guys are kind of building stuff out, and when we have some stuff rolling out as well, I feel like we can figure out a way to share that stuff, because we're going to be open sourcing the DAO once it's live, and hopefully we can make our lives easier by stealing some of your work as well, if it works both ways, guys. That's all right,
Absolutely. That's what this community is all about. I mean, we're trying to build something great, and you can't do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So Rhys, I have looked at your NFT Pass NFT ticketing solution on Catalyst a few times. It caught my eye. I just now connected that you're the proposer. Can you just talk a little bit more about it, just because I'm interested in it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's basically like the problems with NFTs for tickets for most protocols is transaction fees and time for blocks. So like a lot of times blocks will take ages, and forks can go on for quite a while. It's not so much the case with Cardano. And because of how NFTs work, because they're tokens and not contracts, you can check stuff very easily. So NFT Pass is basically a ticketing solution that works with Cardano kind of specifically. I mean, maybe it'll work on something else, but we won't tell you about that. But yeah, basically it's instead of waiting for transactions to prove ownership, we just have like a double sign kind of metadata exchange. So like it's a request for information and then a response for information. And that can all work with like hashes and other cryptographic weirdness, rather than something someone can forge basically or pretend. So yeah, it's kind of really, really simple, but it doesn't work very well on a lot of other blockchains, and it just happens to plug into Cardano very nicely. So so that's kind of what it is. It's the idea is that it doesn't rely on the blockchain. It just verifies information on the blockchain. So instead of like having to request information and needing internet access, instead someone would just approach a venue and they'd scan something, and that something would basically tell the app or your wallet, because it would be a wallet obviously because it's got tokens, but we just call it an app for the UI. It would it would request a certain bit of information from that token. And it would be just random for that event. And then it would create a signature and it would sign it back. So we just need something to scan that on the back end to verify the information provided. It's really simple. It's used for other things, it's used for other things. And I feel like it's a good way for smart contracts to interact on like a P2P thing. Because when Marlowe the Marlowe playground came out, I did some videos on it because I was like, "Ooh, let's poke some holes and let's learn about this thing." And so I one thing people asked was like, "How do you prove that you're actually turning up?" Because I'm a PT, so for me it was like just relate it to personal training because it's easy for me to imagine how that would work. And they were like, how would you know if he was there? Surely you can just pretend you were there. And so I had to think about how people would interact with those smart contracts. And so like a simple double sign of something is used for other processes, especially in crypto, like certain wallets like Elipal or like the Kobo wallet and stuff. So it was really just putting those two things together and being like,
no, it makes a ton of sense.
It does. It just makes a lot of sense. Like it's not that complicated, but because of what crypto's known for, everyone's like tokens, transactions, blocks, blah, blah, blah. Like you get distracted by that rather than just thinking about how cryptography can be applied. So I guess I just thought of it from a different angle, really, from stuff I had lying around my flat.
That's how it goes, man. That's awesome.
That's not the DAO, though, obviously. That's something, that's just another thing. And you know what? Because I've been so focused on doing stuff on the DAO, I haven't really talked much about that project either. It's kind of fallen by the wayside. So I feel like I'm going to have to do another proposal in a couple of weeks to kind of bring NFT Pass back to life.
Yeah. I mean, I can just see a use case for NFTs as season tickets, for whether it's a sports fan or maybe you go to a venue a lot to watch concerts. And
train tickets, like where in the UK, lots of commuting, it's not even just tickets, it's passes. So you think corporate access to buildings, or certain access to certain areas like out of bounds areas, or like risers, like for engineers or like maintenance workers or something like that. It has loads of application. The problem is at the minute, for most blockchains, it's very expensive. And the fact that we can just do it without any transactions means you just save the cost automatically, The only problem is it will clutter up Cardano with lots of native tokens and policies.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, I love that idea. I was thinking about, I feel like when you hopped on the Zoom call, I was thinking, I think I recognize him. And I realized I watched your video where you did the Marlowe tutorial on the personal trainer.
Well, on my phone. That
might have been on disgusting. Your phone.
It's so bad.
So long ago.
Don't laugh at me. I tried hard on that. No, it's terrible. It was so bad. Yeah. So that was me. Yeah. That was me being the personal trainer. I didn't have my mic set up or a nice camera at the time. I literally had my phone, and it was terrible.
That's awesome.
I got a lot of feedback and it made my videos better. So that's good time.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. That's it. But I think there's a lot to it. I was too scared to touch the Plutus playground because it was a bit complicated. And when I tried stuff, I just got a bit lost. But the P2P stuff just made sense for me. And I'm really excited about actually what the rollout of Marlowe, because I feel like that's fallen by the wayside for a lot of people, and they haven't really thought about the implications of that. But yeah, I think that could be a game changer, and especially for like people who are templating smart contracts like you guys. That's a whole other thing you could go into. That outside of the DAO, you can also create that platform for verifying, or at least having, like, you could be a supplier of smart contracts outside in like P2P and stuff like that. And I think that's something that would be great for you guys to expand into. I'm sure you've already thought of that. I'm not that smart, but I'm sure you've all thought of that already. And I think it's a kind of a no-brainer for you guys as well once you get all the DAO tools rolled out in a couple of weeks.
100%. And even thinking about, finding ways to, kind of crowdsource these kind of templates and allow other people to, upload templates that they think would be beneficial and have kind of a way of ranking and verifying those templates on our platform. We really think that we can, democratize this kind of access to these high assurance smart contracts.
Yeah. And if you guys start to build these relationships with the companies who are auditing the contracts, it would be a lot easier for you to get contracts audited from other people as well. Because at the minute, this is something that like our mate Charlie talks about. I always call him Charlie, but obviously I mean Charles, guys. All right. I'm sure if he ever sees any of my videos, he's going to be like, "Oh, Rhys, keep calling me Charlie." But yeah, like it's something he talks about a lot. The auditing is so important, and we all, I'm sure we all agree because it is obviously very important. But it's hard to rely on IOG for things like that, or any of the other companies building on Cardano, and to have something that's already established. Like if you guys build those relationships, then it would be very easy for you to go, we will be the guys who organize verification of these smart contracts, and we can host them on our platform as well. So I think that's going to be another level of service that you guys can provide once you get 100%. The initial stuff rolled out. And that's awesome as well.
That would be awesome. Yeah, like Justin said, the crowdsourcing of creating contracts, because if there's other people creating contracts that can plug into the backbone of what Cardano is doing, like we want as many people to access them as possible. So yeah, it's the vision is big.
Yeah, and it never ends as well. Like, that's the amazing thing. It never ends, man. Like we can sit here for another 20 minutes. We'll think of 3 other things you can do. Don't you worry. So get your notepads out, guys. So how long are you thinking it's going to take you to roll out this escrow, get this escrow tested and kind of templated it? Because I figure for actually building these things for a user, there's just going to be like a web app or a mobile app that you can kind of edit honestly, the parameters of the DAO.
This could be a good time to share screen and show the demo video.
Mate, if you've got it, that'd be fantastic.
I will do that. Let me pull it up.
Let me make sure you're allowed, all participants.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of the timeline of the simple escrow contract that we have cooking, we'll show you the demo for it right now. But, we're really, all we're doing, our developers are working on integrating with the PAB update. There's a custodial mode where we can test it on the testnet, but, we're waiting for it to launch until it's a truly decentralized application where we're not the ones that would submit the transaction. So that's important to us. So, we're the timelines are always fuzzy. It's just kind of
of course. Oh, guys, don't worry. I'm not going to be knocking on your door if it's if it's 3 days late. It's not going to be anything like that. It's just out of interest, like what your Gantt chart's looking like. Basically, I want to know how long these things are going to take. Just out of interest of your development work. See if we need to hurry up. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we can release our beta product in the next 2 months, but that might be too optimistic. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, obviously, but that's great.
All right, here we go. In terms of the sound, I might have to take my headphones out. Let me take my headphones out.
To be honest, sound and video is generally a little bit warbly over Zoom, but we'll give it a go and we'll see how it goes. If you had slides, it would be a bit cleaner.
You guys in here?
Yeah.
At Clear Contracts, we're creating real-world utility for blockchain technology that everyone can use. Creating smart contracts is easier than ever before with our technology. Alice wants to create a new smart contract with Bob. Instead of wasting hours learning a new programming language or hiring expensive developers, Alice can simply log on to Clear Contracts, select the type of agreement she wants to offer Bob, and fill out the important details about this contract. These fields will change depending on the type of agreement that Alice is creating. With the click of a button, Alice can offer a contract to Bob. Bob can review the details of the contract and choose to accept, decline, or renegotiate the agreement. Since we streamline the process of contract creation, you can finally stop wasting time drafting agreements and focus on the more important aspects of your business. Simply fill out one of our simple forms, agree to the terms, and move on. Once all the parties agree to the terms, the power of smart contracts goes to work. Instead of spending time manually carrying out the terms of the agreement outlined in the contract, our smart contracts automatically manage the execution of all transactions that have been agreed on. Depending on the type of contract created, transactions can be verified using either data or human input. In this example, we'll show how human input can be used to initiate transactions. Alice and Bob can both log in to clear contracts and see the status of their agreement at all times, providing them both with peace of mind thanks to our complete transparency. To interact with the agreement, each party can simply vote to resolve the contract. Once the terms of the contract are fulfilled, or in this scenario, once both parties have voted to resolve the agreement, the transaction is executed automatically.
There it is.
So, who was the voice for that video?
That's all me.
Hey, it sounded great. It sounded great. It looked really good as well. Like,
Appreciate it.
Loved it.
So yeah,
go.
we obviously are trying to put as much work into this as making it a easy to use interface as possible. Obviously creating an escrow contract on Cardano without a platform like ours right now is tons of lines of Plutus code, and we're just trying to make it something that everybody can easily just log on and take care of easily.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's awesome. I think it looked great. It wasn't what I was expecting because it was just specific for the escrow rather than like DAO stuff. But I mean, it makes perfect sense, and it's good to have that proof of concept, somewhere to start, that first bit, because otherwise it could be a lot of work for you just to bring something to market, which, trust me, I understand why you make that decision, But
yeah, that's kind of our proof of concept, and the idea is that we'll start to build more quickly, like as time moves on, faster and faster. This smart contract library that will be used for DAO tooling. Having an escrow contract connected to a treasury is already something pretty valuable. But the plan is to expand this smart contract library with help from the community about what needs to be built. And we already have a lot of ideas of what needs to be built, and we are actively building out more contracts that are going to contribute to this DAO tooling. And yeah, we're excited for kind of the development of our project.
So to put you on the spot, what is the craziest, most complicated contract that you've come up with so far, or that you've been requested to build, just out of interest?
I mean, the most complicated one would be the soccer contract one, I would say. Just a contract that's fully, hooked up with a professional soccer player. I guess you could apply it to any athlete, but, fully automating bonus payments through, data on the blockchain. So, right now, all of that's done manually. So take a soccer goal bonus, for example.
So you mean like performance metrics?
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked specifically with sports franchises, but that can also even be applied to anything else like sales or anything. So yeah, being able to hook that up with kind of a live data feed and pay out bonuses according to that would be pretty complicated in case by case, but we see a ton of value in that.
It's actually amazing, isn't it? Like you, like Logan, before we started recording, you said you liked a bit of football. I call it football. You guys call it soccer, but the old Premier League. And so I'm sure you played FIFA.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in FIFA, they have the metrics for everything. And they actually have these in real life. They know how much time someone's had on the ball. They know how much time they spent running. They know how many times they've been tackled, or how many times they've touched the ball, or how many times they've missed it, or like what percentage of cover of the pitch they have, like all these metrics. And so to imagine paying these guys by those metrics, that'd be amazing. You got your base salary, you get 12 grand. All right, don't push it. And then everything else is performance based, like a commission. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to me. If you think about, I don't know if you've ever seen Moneyball, but you shouldn't pay for a player to score goals. You should be paying for wins. So, you can have a smart contract that knows exactly what metrics to take in. So you're most likely paying for wins. Maybe it's distance covered. Maybe it's tackles won.
But each position on the pitch has a role, just like with American football, and if you're fulfilling your role properly, like a army of ants, if you're all doing your bit, then the entire team move forward. And that's the point of it, isn't it? Like that's the whole point of the team game. Performance metrics for payment of athletes. Mate, that is amazing. I didn't know what to expect, but that was a really good one. I really like that. That's so much fun. I bet it's bloody complicated.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a ton of fun. That's one of the cool parts of this job is a lot of what we do on a day-by-day basis is evaluating what contract is worth automating, and having those cool kind of ideas run across our desks is a lot of fun to dream up what a future that kind of includes all that would look like.
Yeah, and just as a fun little backstory, the reason that this idea got thought of is because I played professional soccer for about 6 months before I quit to work full time on this project. And the team I played for, they just were paying me late. Like I was like, what's going on? Like there were certain things promised to me that weren't coming in. And I was like, wow, smart contracts could really fix this. So we kind of went down the wormhole of holy moly, like sports contracts could be completely automated, and there's so many data points that you could confirm transactions with to optimize front offices of sports franchises, and that's where it originated from. But
you know what? Right now, I just feel sorry for the Oracle that has to provide that data. I'm thinking like who's responsible for that?
It's getting called every second of every game.
The guy's exhausted. Yeah, I think that's awesome. So in that example, you would obviously aggregate data from wherever it's coming from. But what about other kinds of like inputs? Like the Marlowe example that we were talking about earlier, where we're scanning QR codes that we each provide to prove that you were in a situation. So it isn't something that you guys can dispute. Like how do you see that kind of thing being implemented? Like, because it's not all, oracles are very good for specific things, but they don't work for everything, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, we definitely do keep the oracle that we talk with in these conversations, and really how it looks with us, onboarding a new company would be figuring out, what is this data source that you're kind of trusting? What is it that you're, already trusting or already using? Say they're putting up data on their website already. What's the source of this data, or whatever, and then based on kind of the stream of how that data is coming in, we can either, work through putting it, just inputting it on our end, or we can talk with kind of these oracles and actually put an entire stream up through the oracle so that we can access that, directly through Cardano's blockchain.
Yeah. And I think, just to piggyback off it a little bit, and just jumping back to the sports example, these contracts, they're probably getting paid out on a bi-monthly basis typically, or maybe it's monthly. So you don't necessarily have to have this live feed of sports data coming in.
Of course.
You have to know this data twice a month. So, that can alleviate the cost of obtaining this data, and just how many calls so there's a lot to think about, and there's so many possibilities with this technology. It's exciting.
Yeah. I feel like oracles shouldn't charge that much though, I feel like you need to request lots of information, right?
Yeah, the oracles themselves have honestly been a breeze working with. Really where we get hung up is if these kind of companies are trusting API data, and then the oracle has to buy the API data. That's where it can get expensive. But, for a lot of people who are using, say, internal data or whatever, that is a lot more affordable of a process.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, I like that. This the whole concept of that's got me so excited. I was thinking about how else it could be applied, right? And you could kind of use it as a way to manage funding for like research. you know, like provable research that you've done, or you get paid depending on how many studies are actually, or tests are run and stuff like that. And it's all hands off, right? Like let the computers do their thing, like what they're supposed to do, and then just trust that the computers know, right? And that's kind of what it's all about anyway, isn't it? The smart contracts. I think that's awesome.
100%. That's definitely the direction that we see the future going. So we want to facilitate that.
Guys, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. It's been like a while now, but I love the concept. It's definitely so important. Once we start developing our DAO out, I really want to kind of connect outside of this call so we can see, we're going to open source the DAO, but if there's a way that we can either provide stuff for you guys to help build your build your toolkit out, or some way that we can kind of develop that together, then I think that'd be beneficial, basically. So I think I'm really glad that of the people who I've spoken to about their Catalyst proposals, like you guys reached out to me. That's awesome. I love it.
Well, thank you so much for having us on, and we're excited to see how your project progresses and keep our project going, and let's definitely keep in touch about everything.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you got my details, so I'll do that. Guys, listen, thank you for tuning into this. Definitely check out the Catalyst proposal. I'll link it in the box below, so you don't have to go searching around Idea Scale. Just be like, click the button below and check it out. Voting starts very, very soon. Like the snapshot's there. It's in 2 days, so make sure you register for voting. You only have to do it once more in your entire lives, and you'll be voting forever. But make sure that's done, because that dictates your voting power. And check out the DAO projects, because DAOs are coming. DAOs are going to be a very, very big part of the next couple of years. I truly believe so. And I think feeding and funding the right projects will help move that along a lot faster and in a much more community-based and structured way that will just make everything a lot easier for everyone. All right. Guys, anything that I haven't asked, right, that I've forgotten, because I tend to just talk rubbish after a while. So is there something that you wanted to talk about that I've completely missed?
I think we're all good. I think we covered it all.
Okay. Well, Justin, say hi to your dog for me.
Will do. Sorry about him popping in and out throughout the call.
That's all right. That's all right. I love dogs. It's all right. I just wanted to say hi. That was all. Listen, thank you both for taking the time to come on and chatting with me. I really appreciate you both. I'm really glad we've had this conversation. It's been really cool. I am still a bit mind blown by the football thing. That's amazing. Yeah, I wish you all the best. I'll do everything I can to help promote you. So if there are any other links or any social media stuff or anything like that, just shoot me a message afterwards, and I'll include all of the links in the box below, guys. So check that out if you want to learn more about these projects and these guys who are building it, because they're doing something pretty fantastic. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to let you crack on with the rest of your day, and hope to catch
Thanks
up with you.
Thanks for having us. Super nice meeting you.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.